to do a bit of a test run. While this loads up, we are currently loading DeepSeek. We are testing out this little turn-based. We're kind of trying to replicate what with AIs playing D&D, and that's essentially what this is going to be. We're waiting. I have to wait for this response. I don't want to switch tabs. So I'll walk you through what's going on here. This is our AI config. So we have, I guess I should start here. This is our types. It's not many. We simply have D&D character data with just fields as strings to make things easy to build in our configuration. And then for our AI agent config, we're actually giving proper ID, display name, file path. This is specifically because I'm altering these files in order to activate TTS on Squawk in the OBS plugin. So that's types. Now we can go through here. This is essentially defining our IDs as well as display names, paths, and our AI config taking in models, temperatures. I just kind of have personalities for these three. So it's using this turn-based page is using the same ID system in order to implement asking AI, the same functionality that I have over in the second page, which is essentially just acting like a normal chat window that you would talk to. So we can go out of this, and then out here we have, and I might change this. I might change, no, actually this is fine being a configuration. This one is an export function. This way we can take in data that may change. This way we can describe how we want our AIs to be answering, as essentially this is our system context. And so that way we can change our name and everything.
I step into the tavern, my boots heavy from the battle. The air feels fresher here, a welcome respite after our grueling fight. The steward, a grizzled man with a weathered smile, greets me with a nod. I'm Aragorn. I say simply, though there's something more to it. He holds out a mug of ale, his hand steady despite the weariness in my own. Take it, he says, offering me the mug. Relax after such a battle. I take it without hesitation, sipping the liquid as if it were a drink of water. The tavern's warmth and the camaraderie here give me strength I didn't know I had. It's a balm to my weary soul.
This is our AI-1. Alter ego is Al, and basically that's our local LLM on DeepSeek, answering as TTS1. We then have TTS2, which is a female voice. This is the last thing we generated, which is horrible. It reads this out horribly. So hopefully we're getting more closer to these responses since I have updated our roleplay context. So now, and that's also with this prompt here, you arrive at a tavern with your party. So if we do let's see, AI2, Ava, AI, and we'll give them the second character sheet, which is Gandalf. And then we'll set them active just to make sure their turn is the one fired, and then their turn is pending. And then as soon as this saves the file, we'll wait a little bit of extra time for it to actually generate the TTS, but we'll be able to kind of read it preemptively. Back to this explanation. So we have, basically just this export function that can dynamically change character definitions. That way we can update stuff. I might add some extra fields here, like game state, but we'll worry about it later. And actually, more importantly, like party members and party conditions. Character sheet config. This is the two that we have here. Gandalf and Aragon. We're going to kind of change up how these work, because I would like for some of these like spells and abilities to actually have further objects that list their definition. Since we're working with English, we don't need to actually worry about math or rolling dice. We just kind of go. There's that second file. Then we can just give a definition specification for that. I mean, technically it can work out math too, probably. So we'll just wait. It generated. Oh, that's nice. So it's a little closer to GPT, but utilizing the same prompt, and we're Gandalf this time. Let's take a look at what this is going to generate for us. I'm interested. And then I'll show off this. This one next, so we can get through just the small building blocks of the core functionality of the AI parts. And then there's also some of these interfaces I might keep in here, since I added the types. It's taking a little time for it to generate that audio.
I stand at the entrance of our tavern, surveying my small but capable party. The wind whispers through the leaves as I nod approvingly at the tavern keep who offers me a mug of ale. A strong drink after a hard battle, I murmur to myself with satisfaction. The keeper beams, clearly happy that he could assist us in such dire need. I take a tentative sip, letting the ale sink my throat before raising it in grateful note. Thank you for your hospitality, I say, though my tone is light and almost dismissive given how serious the situation is. As the ale begins to wear off, I allow myself a small smile, knowing that this moment of weakness will soon be gone. The tavern keeps its doors open, and I follow suit, taking a seat at the bar. The keeper gives me a nod of approval before turning his attention back to his ale.
Okay, I mean it's hitting all the marks, but it's a little weird. I guess we'll have to work on giving better initiative definitions, I guess, or whatever the best terminology for that. I think actions and dialogue is actually what we would have to add a rule in here somewhere. I don't know what that would be quite just yet, so we'll hold off on that. But for now, I'll explain how this is working. We are using a ZooStand store in order to define this top-level data across this application, because this is a Electron app. And in order for us to effectively overwrite these files, I am saving a string to a file, and we're passing that through the IPC renderer. And that way we can dynamically load the file paths in the Chromium shell instead of the main process, because the main process only needs to do this because of file fs. In order to save these files, because we can't save it from the shell itself because of like Chrome restrictions or something like that. So this is effectively the thing taking the clean response and an AI ID to get the correct AI TTS file path that we are defining in this AI config over here. And that's what this is doing. This is basically accumulating the agent.id and then equaling its file path. So then we go back to, this one. This is a simple function. We're stripping the think block that usually generates off of most prompts. You could probably have this go into a field somewhere, but I'm just getting rid of it. And then this is our append message. So this is effectively taking an AI ID that we have defined with all this other configuration, and then the content, and we are then appending that as a user or an assistant. This way we can use this function for both user and assistant, appending into the same message array. And that looks a little something like this. It'll make a little bit more sense when we take a look at the message, array, like what it looks like, and that's this. So it's literally just an object of role and content. I'm sure you're familiar with chat completions with OpenAI or any other LLM. So that is going into a record mapping for our agent AI. So that would look, I think I had an example in here somewhere, but that would look a little something like, all right, and then we will try OpenAI, and we'll give them Aragorn. This one should generate a little bit faster. Let's do the turn-based system. So this is basically what's doing this page here. And then the part that actually matters is the handling turn. As soon as we're handling a turn, we are just asking AI and then taking our Dungeon Master dialogue in this main function, which I don't think I explained just yet, so yes, we do need to go back. So within this main function, we are taking in that AI ID, a from ID, and a message input. We have additional options that we could do, but they're optional. Yes, this is done. So this might cut me
I
off
push
a little
forward
bit.
through the vast opening, sun grinding under my boots and rock walls crushing the sky above. The pirates' curses riding the wind as they surged to close the gap, and I tighten my grip on my longsword, shield raised, senses sharpened for the line of their attack. I study the bent ahead, seeking a choke point or shove that will slow their march and buy us time to guard our plunder. The weight of the lewd hot thorn in my side yet a sign of why we fight. Hold fast, fellowship, I say, voice steady as steel. We move as one and let the desert split before us, that pivot toward the narrowing corridor. Guiding my feet to a ledge that threads between two ancient stones, the sand whispering warnings as I read their footsteps in the dust, ready to strike if they spilt past. Drawing on the memory of failures past to steel my nerves and keep faith with my birthright and the hub of Gondor, even as the chase presses hot at our backs.
That, I would say, is absolutely fantastic. That definitely fits into the theme of what our dialogue was kind of presenting, giving purpose. So, and by the way, we're doing this in interpretation. We're not giving the AI the ability to alter their health numbers and stuff. It's basically just story-driven narrative collaboration. However, we do want the ability to auto send this, so that way the AIs can go off of the last context from the last AI, which that's the last thing I have yet to implement. It's set up in a way that it should work because all of their data ends up into individual agents' message dumps. So like if you had, this might be able to auto-generate a visualization. Perfect. Yeah, something like that. So we have our agents, and then it's keyed by our ID. Each of these have an ID, right? And that's what we're defining here. And so these IDs, right? That's why we have OpenAI and AI2. Those are the IDs we've been using that work along in this system, the same way they work in our chat system, which I can show off now. It's just this, right? So we're wrapping it and then it's just sending it all into here instead of this. And actually, it's interesting how this shows the other characters, so I'm glad that's working how it should, because even if they are the same or slightly different or named or whatever, that's working correctly. Oh yeah, back to this. So in here, just for the visual. Oh, I should not say that. That's annoying, but I think I've already shown off how this is working, and it's working pretty fantastic. So what's next? Yes, so messages, system content, that is the one that's getting auto-generated. Right there. And then we don't need this line. So like it's interpreting it like this. So this is actually showing up as DM, and then this is our DM context. Right, and then our assistant is doing, you know, all of that. And so this ends up getting multiple but keyed in separately. And so this is basically what's going on. I think you understood as soon as I was kind of setting it up, but we'll continue on to this main function. I know I've been kind of stalling. Getting active participants, inputting, like we're changing input because specifically, and again, I don't have it fully set up yet, but the way it's intended to work is our from ID when we run this function is going to be appended into our input on top of our message input. That way we can have this prefix interpreted in our interpreted by this. So like we need to add in a rule somewhere in this system context to break down that prefix. So that's what I have yet to add. But once that is all set up correctly, it should effectively be able to interpret individual message blocks per AI. So like if we were to look at these individual text notepads as like a visual, it would be like, because we have to think about context on a per individual basis. Otherwise, I would love to put these all into one, which I might end up doing. Like it's kind of set up to do that because we can aggregate sending the response after the ask AI as an assistant or a user at any time when we append. And the way we append, like it's dynamic, we're appending the input change here. Like it's not built into the function. The function is strictly just, you know, to append a role and content. So we have full control over it afterwards. But yeah, so like we're appending message first as user. So that way we can then append the response afterwards as assistant, as like a general chat thing. And then for our save to string, we take the clean response. So like this is the point that you would be able to take out the strip think block function and, you know, put it into your own or like render it or whatever, but I didn't want to do that. And so this is also a little funky because we're doing local and OpenAI. I could have created some functions, but we're really only ever going to use it in this one function anyway, so I don't see the purpose. Leaving it here also makes sense because our clean response and I don't know. It makes sense to me, and it works, so yeah, that's basically what I had left to do. And then over here, I guess if we can go into how this page is working a little bit more. We just have participants and taking an ID and name, and then we're typing as human and AI. Like, this doesn't really matter a whole lot. I made it a little, like, it's not necessary. The way I did this is like when you ID these and you click like they need to be AI, in order for the next turn to so what happens here is if turn pending or participant's length is 0, it'll return early, and then we'll start pending, and then we handle a turn, and then afterwards our participants is like our turn increase. Like this is the functionality that toggles between. So if I had to demonstrate, we could just add a bunch of humans. And this is like, since this is D&D, right, or turn-based, we're just kind of adding turn order. So active participant is our person active, and this is also AI. So if our AI is acting and talking, that's essentially what's acting. Like it's firing all of that in that functionality. So then we hit next, and this is what cycles through our turns, and then turn pending if it's AI, obviously. So this is like human. So like we could have human players as well as keep track of enemy NPCs, friendly NPCs. It all just kind of works in this one system. That way it's better to keep track of. And this is also the same, this function also adds in the same field for character sheet data. So we're basically taking the number, so like 1 is essentially referring to the first character sheet that we have in our configuration. So we can essentially just make a whole bunch of these and give full character sheet personalities and traits that will dynamically be loaded into the roleplay context. So that way every single individual ask for an AI, it should be able to interpret correctly. Now, again, there is game state and relevant information that should be accounted for, but there's a specific way I want to be implementing that, so I'm not going to do it on camera, so I'll do it later.